Tonight's episode of the Dividend Report is dedicated to my Patreon supporters who are crowdfunding my own universal basic income. And a special thanks to the donations that I received during my live stream yesterday. I've run into a little bit of financial trouble and it's making things a little difficult, but the Yang Gang has opened up their arms and I'm going to do a special discussion on the other end of this episode tonight. But first, we have a lot to discuss. It is a big day for the Yang campaign. We have been dropping our first batch of advertisements specifically targeted towards Iowa. My initial reaction to seeing the advertisement was, man, there are a lot of things about this that I would change or prioritize more. My second thought, though, is that I'm not a political marketer. I don't know the first thing about the demographics that we need to reach in Iowa, and they do. They do this for a living. There's a science behind it. And again, startup mindset. They know what to do. The funny thing, though, is these are the same advertising producers that worked for Bernie in 2016. So maybe it's the money speaking, or maybe everyone who used to support Bernie is just inevitably going to wind up in the Yang Gang. I want to draw a little bit of attention to this wonderful piece of content posted by user modern_football. It's taking a look at where we've come, where we need to go to be in a good position to start winning some primaries, which are just around the corner. And as you can see here around October, it's the first time that the donation amount has risen, but the polling hasn't really reflected it. I could understand the feeling of defeat a little bit, a little lack of energy, because that's the first time that we've seen that happen. But we are on track, really. Especially at this critical time, we're capitalizing on this ad buy in Iowa. I'd be surprised if we haven't qualified 5 days before the end of November. We're in a good position all in all. All right, so what I mainly wanted to talk about tonight, and I'm going to do very little editing because this is going to come straight from my heart, is how amazingly grateful I am for the Yang Gang. And again, my Patreon supporters, the people who donated to me last night, I had run into a bit of an issue. Between my crowdsourced universal basic income, which is just about above $80 right now, I am Ubering to fill in the gap. Earlier this year, I left the workforce for mental health reasons and because I wanted to be a universal basic income advocate. I saved up as much money as I could to try and make it as long as I could until I could possibly get a Patreon support base. Scott Santens is a huge inspiration of mine. One, because of how how digestible he's able to make universal basic income data. And two, the fact that he's kind of leading the way and saying, hey, yeah, I'm going to crowdfund my own basic income so that I can devote my time to being a UBI advocate and also be like a poster child to show what it could mean, what it could do. If you haven't taken a look at Scott Santens' big pledge, basic income guarantee pledge, for content creators, it's basically signing a pledge saying, hey, every single dollar that I get over $1,000 in Patreon subscribers, I will then give to another content creator. And I have signed that. And so I think about $3 goes over to me because he's already gotten above that $1,000 threshold for him. It's an amazing walk the walk type of thing coming from someone who really truly does believe in a universal basic income. So like I said, I've really been struggling with finding my passion in life, finding something that doesn't make me literally pull my hair out, and this is the thing that I had tried to do. But with that being said, what I imagined having a crowdfunded universal basic income would be like is very different from the reality. And I'm not talking about how hard it is to get to the amount to live on. I'm talking about the fact that a universal basic income is unconditional, meaning that there are no strings attached. But when I think of my Patreon supporters, in the back of my head, I know that these are people who have their own lives, their own problems. This is money that they are using to support me. And I feel that it's very crucially important to provide content to justify the fact that that cash is coming to me. I also know that there are people who are in worse positions than me, people who are truly needy. And I'm dealing with all of those thoughts and thinking, well, I don't want to be viewed as a grifter, which is very strange because I love to talk about the fact that I think it's absolutely incredible that kids are making money playing video games and they're getting donations at that. I've discovered that I'm a maladaptive perfectionist. That's part of the reason why it's difficult for me to make videos, and having a camera in front of me is actually really kind of difficult because I'm so intent on trying to make sure that everything's perfect. When I first started creating videos earlier this year, I had enough money to take care of the next month and the month after that. And it was a very different experience making that content than it is now. These days, I am so totally consumed with how many followers I have, how long you all are watching this video. For instance, I know that most of you have already clicked off of this video, and that causes me a certain amount of stress, but I'm not going to think about that. You know, how many likes am I getting? How many followers am I getting on Twitter, on YouTube? How many hours do I have total because I can get super chat at 40,000 or something like that? Insane. I never really paid that much attention to it earlier because it didn't mean so much. Like, if I have to get these numbers up in order to put food on the table next month, it suddenly turns into a very different beast. And I can see all of the negative aspects of social media starting to come down in this aspect, which is why I think a universal basic income would be even more important. I mean, I am doing this not because I want fame or I want a higher number or anything like that. And I have to wonder how many other quote unquote social media influencers or people who are engaged in this line of work would say the same, and that they might be able to produce content which is more true to their heart. And that's something that Scott Santens talks about, is that when he makes something, the decision that he has to let it go for free into the world, and it's a true piece of work that comes from his heart, that's something very unique that only a universal basic income could do. The difference between a UBI and welfare is so dramatic because I saw this last night. Welfare turns you into the victim. It turns you into someone who's having to justify why you need something. And that includes when you need to ask for help. And people don't like to be in that situation. People are immediately going to judge you, be skeptical of you, or be otherwise hurtful. It was the craziest thing. I got a tweet from someone who said, this is make your own money. And obviously I thought, well, I can understand why they said that. But I went onto their profile and it said, they were retweeting Scott Santens. They were retweeting Bill Pulte. And they said that I was putting the Yang Gang in a very negative light. And I thought, this is the scarcity versus abundance mindset. This is the fact that welfare is viewed through a moralistic lens, but universal basic income is viewed through a pragmatic lens. They're both viewed so dramatically differently. And this is seen in Alaska, where it doesn't matter what ideology you are, left, right, you view the UBI very differently than you view welfare, just like you don't judge anyone for collecting $200 when they're playing Monopoly. So I'm just wanting to really, really spend this time to thank the Yang Gang who have, my mental state of mind is so different today than it was yesterday. And it means the world to me that people are sharing that kind of humanity with me, and that they share my vision, and that they want to see it happen as much as me. I hope that my channel in some way, somehow, can help more people have access to their own universal basic income. And all of this is because of you. So thank you so much, Yang Gang. Thank you. I'm going to be back with some more regular content. It's been so stressed. I'm not happy with this video. I'm being a perfection about it, but I'm going to post it because, I'm just going to. Thank you. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great night tonight and a beautiful week. Let's secure that bag.